Hey, you gotta be a problem solver, not just a problem identifier. That's what I tell my kids a lot, and they appreciate and respect the wisdom that I impart. They signal it with this noise. That's the sound of laziness and stupidity escaping their bodies. More to today's point, however, sometimes characters are written terribly, and when that happens, commentators like myself are ready with jokes, jibes, jeers, and other J words to complete the alliteration, which I love. Other things I love include ranked lists and the monthly member stream where we hang out for a while and chat, but then collectively discuss a video idea, which I neatly package, prepare, perform, and present. I do have a problem, huh?
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Well, like George Costanza, I know how to combine good things, and this time the members helped me problem solve some famously bad characters in what will hopefully be a recurring segment called We Can Fix Them. The writing, not like in the way that I think I could fix Minthara.
Stop browbeating her! Can't you say she's sexy?
Today we've got 6 characters badly in need of reconscriptive surgery, and we ranked them on a 1 to 5 scale from easiest to hardest to fix. So let's start simple. Tabitha Chen suggested Jonathan from Stranger Things, and he's gonna be a 1 on the Fixometer.
Patent pending.
Now I was excited about this suggestion because my oldest daughter has been working through the seasons and loving it. So thought it'd be kind of fun to loop her in on this one. When I mentioned that, Tabitha was curious to see if she agreed about Jonathan, and there's a reason that lawyers only ask questions that they already know the answer to.
Hey T, hey, come here. Who is Jonathan in Stranger Things, and why is he a bland character that needs to be fixed?
What do you mean? Did somebody say that?
Yeah.
Oh, they can fight me.
What? Oh, you like Jonathan?
Yeah.
Oh no. It didn't go the way that I planned.
Later, Chen sent me an email to explain her position, and parental brag, I have an open-minded teenager, and she agreed. She was won over. It also helped that she had finished the 4th season by then and saw how things actually turned out.
Until eventually, she hates me.
Well, for those of you in the dark room like me, Jonathan is an introverted guy with confidence issues because his dad went out for cigarettes. He hides behind his camera, but it gives him a different lens on life. The writers use his outside perspective to frame other characters and give diegetic info dumps to them and us while also growing him to not be so shuttered.
Was that it was a triple pun!
In addition to alliteration, I've got a real aperture for puns.
Punster McPunstein's back on top!
Well, it started out that way. Unfortunately, he was paired up with Nancy, and the writers seemingly lost interest in the poor fella. He continued to use photography, but not in a thematic or character-driving way so much.
It's all the little guy's got!
And that's a real shame because Johnny could have been more interesting and effective without having to take away from Nance too much. Basically, he should just follow the plot that seems pretty obvious from what we know about him at this point. The camera is his shield, keeping him from really connecting with other people, and my daughter tells me that a major theme of this show is people connection.
So the theme of the show is like human connection, right?
Jonathan could be used 1 or 2 more times to reveal something that only he sees about another character through his lens, but eventually he would need to grow past it and move on to his next big arc, being the man of the house. Now, from what I'm told, this is a real big missed opportunity because the strong male characters in the show are mostly the really macho kind. Steve and Hopper are the 2 big examples. Well, Jonathan could have decided to step up and fill the void left by his father and show a different type of stabilizing masculinity that doesn't require shooting or punching things. Not only is that a positive thing to show, but also diversifies the character archetypes to make a more interesting viewing experience. Now, maybe even give him his own hero moment where he does try to destroy the dangerous and demonic half-Gorgon. Yeah. Making Jonathan Nancy's tag-along as the seasons went on makes for someone who is a waste of screen time. Anytime you've got weak characters, that usually translates to boring scenes. By season 4, John's a stoner with no ambition. Yay? That sounds awful. It's also awful not to teach your kids about money.
Guys, teaching money management needs to start young, and Cash App can help you and your teen. Now, I know you've heard of Cash App for sending money to other people on your phone, but did you also know that there is a Cash App card that links to your account? You can customize it yourself. Mine is glow in the dark with a bunch of little money bags on it, and your teen can get their own account that you sponsor, and they can design their own card as well. They do have different colors, but my son thought my glow in the dark one was cool because it is, so he spent a while designing this design. This is certainly a design. Now, using the Cash App, you can see your teen's purchases and help them to learn some financial responsibility. There's no hidden fees, there's no minimum balance you gotta carry, no funny business whatsoever. In fact, you can save some money because the Cash App card gets you exclusive discounts at major retailers. Also, for a limited time, new customers who use the code CASH10 at sign up can earn $10 if they send $5 to a friend within 14 days of signing up. It's a pretty good deal. So download the Cash App, use that code, and get started today.
Hey, one more thing. I promised my daughter that I would give a shout out to Mike from Stranger Things. Apparently, he's like a punching bag for the fandom lately, and she asked me to say he does not deserve the hate. He is a good character. Leave him alone! You know what else is good? Oh wait, just got the one camera, sorry. You know what else is good? Romance.
Love to be a part of one someday.
Yeah, well, Finn should have had one with Rose. This section's a bit of a twofer. They are both a 2.5 on the Fixometer. Yep, it's Star Wars time, ladies and gentlemen, and normally I like to let these videos go wherever the members want, but I did have to put a cap on sequel trilogy characters this time because like all the initial suggestions were just every character from those movies.
Oh my God, yeah, so this is just gonna be, it's gonna be nothing but sequel stuff. That trilogy is so damn bad.
Yeah. Fans are still angry about it, and they have every right to be. Disney went out of their way to appeal to some new fictitious audience instead of like simply serving the one they already had. We will do more Star Wars in the future, but for now, let's just talk about Rose and Finn.
There is another.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's obvious in the video. It'd be almost dishonest to not include her. But let's start with Finn, because he had the more interesting setup with more lost potential. Rickety Bridge actually wondered why he's not the main character. He's a defecting stormtrooper. Finn explains that without clones, the First Order just kidnapped kids and pressed them into the military. He also shows a little Force sensitivity, which also piqued a lot of viewers' curiosity. Proud to be Geeky thought his janitor to Jedi story could have been amazing. Now, we all know character ultimately fizzled and actor John Boyega crashed out, as the kids say.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Oh, but what could have been? Ugh, there are so many interesting possibilities for this guy. It makes you wonder how they screwed him up on accident. Overall, most of the members did agree that attempting to make him a Jedi if he wasn't the main character was a bad idea, except Master Chuddy, who wanted him to have a rivalry with Kylo Ren. Sounds kind of cool. But instead, it was suggested that he be a new Han Solo type character. That was from David Maida. He's got the freedom for the first time in his life. He can do whatever he wants. Finn could be used as a lens for the moral ambiguity that most writers are desperately trying for, but, you know, can't accomplish at a level above the typical fourth grader.
Good guys, bad guys, made up words.
Like, I can't even think of any jokes. That was just trash. Sorry, so at first in our fix, Finn is grateful to have met Poe and the Resistance, but through him, we could see their mistakes and their mismanagement, and then he decides, well, they're not any better than the First Order just because they're on the other side. Like Richard Pryor, he advocates for none of the above and bounces. Now, you could either explore his nihilism turning into an attitude of, well, if I don't help these idiots, the Space Reich is gonna win, so I'd better do something, and influencing the Resistance for the better. Or there were suggestions that his former trooper life could achieve the moral questions as well. This is probably the biggest miss in the series. Robert Smith noted that even in the first movie, they forgot halfway through that he was a former trooper who was broken by seeing a fellow soldier die. Yeah, he kills a bunch of stormtroopers like an hour later. But what if instead he has this motive of being obsessed with freeing the kidnapped soldiers? Sleeve McDougall brought up giving him some kind of pathos about killing stormtroopers, and also had a great idea to make Phasma mean anything by doing like a two separate paths thing with Finn and Phasma coming from the same place in their backgrounds.
That makes a lot more sense.
Now, I shouldn't have to say this, but when a character has clear motives, makes the writing process easier, and it helps prevent plot contrivances. It could also make for some believable drama. Now, imagine that a mission that they're on gets blown because Finn really believes that he could save some stormtroopers, and he tries to make contact to rescue them, but happens to find a true believer who yells out traitor, sounds the alarm. Now imagine the conflict for him. Does the team hate him now? Did he really do what was right? Are the faceless troopers truly beyond saving? There could be some interesting conflict as he sees every stormtrooper as a scared, confused kidnapping victim like himself, but the Republic has to view them as inhuman enemy combatants. I packaged Rose with Finn because their romance should have gone somewhere, but didn't. Rose is also similar to him in that she doesn't have much to do. Pandemona noted that she seems forced in and doesn't have any point to exist in this story. The accusations of Kelly Marie Tran being a diversity hire seem pretty founded when the script forgets that she exists and you could cut her out of the movie entirely with little to no impact. The actors always want to blame the fans, but weirdly, they never ask why the studio threw them to the wolves with flimsy token characters like this. In his defense, Boyega did at first, but he too eventually blamed the fans. Well, the members said the easiest way to improve Rose is to give her a skill, like Rickety Bridge said. Maybe the Republic needs her because she's the best, I don't know, slicer or something. Just do away with the silly Del Toro subplot and have her be the expert. Most folks were good with keeping the romance, but some were in favor of it being used for a tragic drama. Now, while they could have had a happily ever after and affected change in the Republic because of their backgrounds, there were suggestions that Rose should feel rejected by Finn. Proud to be Geeky came up with that one. We could have Finn either genuinely not requiting her love or could be a misunderstanding. Now, normally, I despise a misunderstanding that causes relationship drama and people just don't say anything. But it could actually work in this case, but it would require a little setup for Finn. Now, we don't have to change Rose's backstory much. She's got a tough exterior because she's had a hard life and she's been a resistance fighter for a long time. She's jaded, she doesn't know how to be vulnerable because she sees it as a weakness. All of that, very understandable. Finn, on the other hand, would have to be played much differently for this to work. Now remember, he was a kidnapping victim as a kid by a merciless, uncaring Empire wannabe. He hasn't had a normal life. He doesn't know how relationships are supposed to work. Kevin Heffley noted that they didn't even have names, just codes, so he probably didn't even have normal friends. So he accidentally friend zones Rose because he's so interpersonally ignorant. In either case, the spurned Rose gets revenge on him by briefly turning traitor, and then they become a tragic story as they realize their miscommunication, but too late. A lot of options for both, independently and together. What would you do? Should they forego a happily ever after, or would you refuse to write a ruinous couple? It kind of hurts. It's like holding back a sneeze. Now our next character, you know what? I don't even know if I should be holding those back. Like, should I just be me?
Do it! Do it. Just do it! Do this. Wait. You can do it!
Do it.
Do it!
I don't know.
Let's do it. It's go time.
Much maligned for multiple messages of misandry and misanthropy, meet Major Marvel. Masculine, muscled, mean, and missing memories, La Mujer mercilessly manhandled misogynistic motorcyclists, menacingly massacred a manipulative motherboard, and manifested the musings of Maya in a much-memed montage. Moreover, the maiden's meowing monster, monikered for Maverick's malijected mate, mauled this myopic mother mater, making that mystery mundane. Mickey Mouse miscalculated the mood, milking the masses by misrepresenting her as monumentally meaningful for mopping up the master of multicolored marbles. This militaristic mane was mocked as mirroring a muff muncher, and maybe her movie made massive mountains of money, but misled many, making multitudes mad and manufacturing mistrust, mellowing the momentum for more of the Madame and Marvel's multiverse map en masse. Mash that merry marker.
Massive Media Maker Maneuver.
Everybody feels better now.
Okay, so we could skip past the part where I recap what went wrong, right? I think we all know. What I did not know was that comic book Captain Marvel has a very interesting nuance. Both Sleeve and Quiet Chap sent me some emails explaining that Carol is actually an all-powerful boss babe, but where it gets interesting is how that affects her and how it makes her relate to other people, or not relate to them in most cases. Now, I've got Carol at a 3 on the Fixometer, but she could easily be a 4. What makes Carol extremely difficult to pull off is that you need a great writer and actor with serious range, because comic Danvers is pretty manly and stoic and blunt, but what the movie failed to capture is that it's because she's so mission-minded. Now, from what the members told me and my own research, it sounds like Carol is like Superman, but without the focus on goodness and more of the questions that you often see people want Superman to face, like, what if you can't save everyone? What if you can't be everywhere? Is humanity even worth saving? Is it selfish to take a break when you could be helping people? And would that eventually give you a mental breakdown or an alcohol problem? Because it did for her. With everybody and their brother in Hollywood trying to tell stories about trauma, Captain Marvel should have been perfect.
How could you miss? He was 3 feet in front of you.
Sleeve pointed out that Carol doesn't have a thematic connection to her powers like other characters that we know. Like Thor can't use his hammer unless he is worthy. Stark's suit is his weapons dealing penance solution. His reactor is literally made from the missiles. Roger's strength is what he thinks he needs, but it doesn't make him a hero like he thought, etc. Sleeve suggested that the first movie should have had Mar-Vell as a love interest, but Carol is convinced by Jan Rog that he is the bad guy. Now, her powers are still an accident, but the explosion now comes from her shooting at Mar-Vell while thinking that she is in the right. So now her powers represent her black and white view of good guys and bad guys. You could even work in a military critique, as Carol thinks she's on team good guys because she's in the military. They're the good guys. Now, Sleeve told me that in the comics, Carol has a very hard outer shell, but struggles to show humanity. And the romance with Mar-Vell would be a great way to show her softer side and demonstrate that she only feels like she can show it to just this one person. Quiet Chap referred to her as the Green Lantern of the Avengers. She's a space cop with military discipline and focus on the mission. He told me that the game Midnight Suns is what really changed his view of the character, because in that game you get to have these little side conversations with the team members, and Carol slowly opens up as the game goes on. He suggested that doing something like this would be a great way to show us the compassion under her tough exterior.
Carol is like an onion.
She stinks?
Yes.
Trouble is, that would have required another character to be around for her to talk to, but I do like this idea. Around others and on the mission, she's all business, but we get little hints that it's because she is too concerned for whoever they're trying to save or defeat or whatever. The movie could have had a handful of quiet side conversations where she expresses her doubts and the burden of responsibility that she feels and how it makes her feel isolated. What could really kick up the interest, though, is the exploration of a human with godlike powers, but not godlike omniscience and omnipresence. We would see this weighing on the character, like, why can't I save them all? Why can't I be everywhere? What if I made a mistake? By leaning into how powerful she is, we can actually see how isolating and stressful that could be.
I'm so lonely.
Now, I knew the execution of the character wasn't great, but having a little of her background explained to me makes me genuinely sad that we didn't get to explore any of these concepts on screen. I'm also just gonna say it and be basic. Brie Larson is a good-looking woman, but they dressed her in the boxiest uniform imaginable. I called her and Teyana Paris average looking in a previous video. This is what I was talking about. They made them look average and rectangular when these frames of Carol from the comics make her look great. A movie is a visual medium. I will never understand the push to reduce the visual appeal of some characters. Now, I was excited by this next suggestion because it's different, and I'm really glad that Master Chuddy brought her up. At a 4 on the Fixometer, it's Evelyn Deaver from The Incredibles 2. Now, the issue with Evelyn is that she's kind of all over the place. She hates heroes in general, but as David pointed out, somehow not Mr. Incredible more than any of the others, despite him arguably being the most responsible for her parents' deaths. And Tabitha noted that it's not clear enough how heroes were ultimately at fault anyway. Sleeve pointed out that she wants to bring the heroes out of hiding in order to expose them and then send them back into hiding? It's a convoluted revenge plot. Then she has this random girl moment with Helen, which really motivates her, which seems to not actually be part of her plan. So why have the heart-to-heart in the first place? She has too many motivations and none of them are fleshed out enough.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
Now, this fix is tough because it requires rewriting like the entire movie, but that actually might be for the best here. Kevin suggested that she be brought in line with the overall theme of both movies, which is that unintended consequences don't make you a bad person. So she should be trying to do good, but in the wrong way, and ultimately be sort of an anti-villain. Now, Master Chuddy had the idea to have her upset that heroes were getting all the glory, and the real heroes, first responders, were not. To this end, Sleeve suggested that she would be using her tech genius and her brother's company to develop helper robots for said responders to replace the egotistical heroes. But they go wrong in the classic way that soulless robot replacements always go wrong. That robot suggestion caused Sleeve to think that she isn't even a flawed hero maybe, she's still a real villain, and maybe going with a Syndrome or Mysterio motivation to stage disasters and have her robots come to the rescue. Or, this might be my favorite, Chuddy suggested that she be the head of an army of screen slavers. She is a cult that views technology as superior to superheroes, and that is her motivation. Could really be similar to what they were trying to do with Lex Luthor in this summer's Superman. Her jealousy of superheroes ultimately is what motivates her to take them out. Now, a lot of this is tough though because it's basically Syndrome 2.0, but that's still a compelling story. This is what makes her a 4 though, because the whole movie scene needs to be scrapped in order to give her a clearer motivation and keep everybody, except Helen, from basically repeating their arcs from the first movie. But that also offers a lot of freedom. What would you do though? Where should the Parr family have gone after the first movie? Oh, but now it's time. The moment you've all been waiting for. You knew that she was gonna be here. I've got Rey at 5 on the Fixometer, but I think a strong argument could be made that she is, in some ways, a 1. Really easy. See, part of what irks people so much about this character is that she is nothing. She has no character. So, in that way, she's really easy to fix because she's a blank slate. However, the movie does wrap itself around her nothingness, so any change is going to shake the entire trilogy up, so you end up having to change everything. Hold up, I'm gonna let you finish. What the members have to say is very important. I just wanna say thank you for the recommendations. I read this trilogy of books right here, the Thrawn trilogy. This section is useless. We don't have to fix Rey. The correct answer is that Mara exists. Thank you for your attention. On with the show. Kevin talked about how she has no internal issue to work through. And then Sleeve pointed out how the movie wants her to be poor, innocent, forgotten Rey, but also a hardened desert junker who is amazing at everything.
As a specimen, yes, I'm intimidating.
Tabitha chimed in that two-sidedness isn't really terrible, but it does need to have risks, like her being susceptible to the dark side. One of the drawbacks of the current stream format is that there is a character limit in chat, so some folks did email me because Rey requires a full overhaul. Sterling Jones recognized this and sent me some ideas for Finn, Rose, and Rey in a brand new movie trilogy that would take place a few years after Rise of Skywalker and attempts to fix them with sort of a soft reboot. He wanted Finn to be a commander in the new Republic, but have the Force call to him and go out and learn how to be a Jedi. He also wanted Rose to be head of the Engineering Corps or follow her story from the Cobalt Squadron book, but his idea for Rey was great and I think doesn't actually need to be in a future movie. Now, he suggested that in his movie, she would suffer from phenom sports star syndrome, where an excellent young player gets to college or the pros and realizes that their lack of challenge in the small pond did not prepare them for the ocean. And Rey heads down a villain arc for this very reason after the sequel trilogy is over. But that got me thinking that she could have been a great twist villain in the sequel trilogy by following a similar path as Anakin. See, for all their flaws, one thing that those movies nailed was a traumatized kid being handed ultimate power. Now, Rey was abandoned and had to grab her living out the mud, as the kids say.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Then she discovers that she has magic powers and can make things right. just like Anakin. Transformers 1 did a great job with this, and Star Wars could have as well. Both Rey and Finn have been traumatized. Their lives were crap, and it wasn't their fault, just like Megatron and Optimus. They could have been allies at first, but split as Finn vows to save the stormtroopers and change minds, while Rey goes down the dark side path of forcing her view of justice. Skyden emailed me with a similar idea of having her kill Kylo early in the trilogy and then becoming a tyrant as she is the only Jedi left. A lot of these rewrites tend to paint Rey in a bad light, which is partly because the fans are still mad, but also because it was obvious that Disney wanted to do something fresh and cool. Well, there it is. Twist hero to villain arc with an understandable motivation and tie it in to a broader theme. Trying to control everything makes you an authoritarian control freak. The earlier suggestion for Finn would play into this idea perfectly, and it would echo the OG movie's ideas, but not in so obvious a copy and paste way as The Force Awakens. Man, it feels good to fix things. Now, I imagine that you all have the most to say about Rey, but I want to hear how you'd fix any of today's characters. So drop those ideas down below, and if you want to have your ideas included in a video before it airs and have your name listed on the screen like these, well, you gotta join the club. You gotta be a second-tier member, a share owner. I hope to see you in the next member stream, but no matter what, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.